Okay, I've been criticised on this channel plenty of times for being too open and too transparent, and if you're one of the people that criticise me for that, you're not going to like this video because I'm going to talk about what my plans are. And you might think that it sounds far-fetched, you might think that I am mad, but I've got a couple of plans with what I'm going to do with this business moving forwards because the landscape has changed so much with car sales that things have got to change here and we need to adapt moving forwards. I can name several car dealers off the top of my head that have either gone under recently or decided to walk away, and there are critical reasons for that. Number one, consumers are very difficult to deal with as a rule because of the rules and regulations that we're all bound by. That's just the way that it is, nothing you can do about that. But number two, because of the rising costs of absolutely everything, and I think I found a solution to it, and it's something that's been on my mind for a very long time. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a couple of different options that I think I've got moving forwards. I'm going to be prepared to be absolutely slayed in the comments, or hopefully have some advice in the comments, because that's basically what I'm reaching out for. Want to be transparent, but I'd love to get your feedback as well. Unfortunately at the weekend, the stars yet again did not align for Robbie, so we're going to have to think about this seriously and put our big boy pants on and try and find some sort of a way out. I have got a couple of different options. My lease ends in around about 3 years' time. And when I say around about 3 years' time, I've got an exit clause in 3 years' time to get out of this building if I want to do. The actual end of the term is in 4 years' time. So it's a 7-year lease, I'm 3 years into it. So I've got 3 or 4 years. Now there are lots of different ways of getting out of your lease. You can be a naughty boy and you can liquidate your business and go into administration and all that sort of stuff and get out of it that way, but that's not how I play. And also, I'm quite happy here. Happy with the landlord, happy with the community, happy with the business working from this place. However, it is getting tougher and tougher, and I think I found a solution. Now this idea has been on my mind for a long time, and there are a couple of different ideas. One is a little bit mental, I'm going to go on to that at the end of the video, but the second one, or the first one I'm going to talk you through, I think there is good rationale for. Before you criticise me for giving this information, I've had this be in my bonnet for years, and I think that with recent changes on the political landscape, it's actually making more sense from my point of view. So when we look at the business and the most expensive costs, they are the preparation costs of cars. Nothing you can do about that. Everything's getting dearer. The cost of buying stock. Nothing you can do about that. Everything's getting dearer. Your property that you're in, your rental costs, your business rates, your electricity, everything like that. That's something that I think I could do something about, which I'm going to go on to in a second. And then the final thing is staff costs, all that sort of stuff. Well, if you want staff, then you need staff, don't you? And you want to make sure they're taken care of. So the third point, which is the running costs, is the thing that I think I've got a solution for. Don't criticise me for this. This is my idea, not other people's ideas. However, this is it. A farm. Now, I know what you're going to be thinking, oh, what do you think, you're Jeremy Clarkson or Joe at Shifting Metal or whatever. This, in my mind, has got real strong rationale. So I've picked a few to show you, and hopefully you will put my mind at rest as to whether or not you think I'm being stupid, which means it might be idea number 2, which you're going to come on to, or whether or not you think that Robbie might actually have a good idea here. First of all, looking at this farm, which is particularly nice, and it's called Rush House Farm, and it is based up in Thirsk in North Yorkshire. Now that's about an hour away from where we are at the moment. It's not a bad location, it's easy access to motorways, etc. And would you just look at it? First thing that you've probably spotted on here is the guide price, which is 2.8 million. Now I'm going to go on to that in a second, because you're also probably thinking, I thought you said you were skint. I am skint, and I'll be more skint after this if I do something stupid. Now let's have a look at this. So first of all, you've got a lovely farmhouse sat in beautiful surroundings, and crucially you've got a couple of big outbuildings here. You've got a large one here, which I think would work quite well as a car showroom, and then you've also got a large one here as well, which could work quite well as storage, preparation, that sort of stuff. This place is absolutely gorgeous. Gravel driveway, scenic location, beautiful inside. I can imagine the missus will be very excited about this. Oh, I can imagine having a gin and tonic sat in here. Gorgeous, but let's not get blinded by the wonderfulness of it, and let's just scroll through to the important bits. Okay, so these are the important bits from my point of view. You've got a couple of buildings that would work well as a showroom, and also some sort of valeting area, storage or whatever here. That you can fit ramps in, fit the mezzanine flooring. That to me doesn't look much smaller than the building that I'm in at the moment. Obviously there's a lot of money to be spent in there, lighting, all the other sort of stuff. But actually, that could be quite special, couldn't it? Now, the other problem that you've got if you're going to do something like this and move to a farm is where are you servicing your cars, where are you MOTing them, all that sort of stuff. And I guess that's something you'd need to address. And this is potentially too far out in the sticks. Now, at 2.8 million quid, it's a long stretch for anybody, me included. And fortunately, on this one, this farm includes 161 acres, and I'm not interested in that. Now, what I have done is I found the same farm for sale here on another website. Now, this doesn't include the land, it only includes 30 acres. It's exactly the same farm, and it's £1.5 million. This is where I think it adds up. My rent here is around about £2,000 a month. It's actually slightly more than that. My business rates is £650 a month. Obviously you get your insurances, you'll still need that, but then you got your electricity, all that sort of stuff. Again, there's not a lot you can do about that. Now my mortgage at home, the average UK mortgage is 1,250 quid a month. Mine's slightly more than that because I borrowed more than the average, but I can manage it and all that sort of stuff. So my mortgage is around about £1,500 a month. So my spend each month to rent this place and also to have a mortgage on my current property is around about £4,150 a month. Now, if we go into a mortgage calculator, and I don't know if I'm being am I missing something obvious here? It'd be really helpful if someone could tell me. So, purchase price is 1.5, and I get the zeros wrong, million. Let's say you put 250 grand in, so we can use a bit of equity out of my current place and then some funds from the business or whatever. Over 30 years, which is the longest period that I can mortgage for-ish. I don't know if we can do longer than that or whatever. Interest rate of 4%. 6 grand a month. Am I being daft here? But 5,950. It's leaving a difference of 1,800 quid a month. Now, that isn't a massive jump, is it? But all I can think to myself is at the end of the term, in 30 years' time, you own a farm. Whereas if I continue doing what I'm doing here in 30 years' time, I'll own my property that I live in at the moment, but it certainly isn't 1.5 million quid. And I'll have a landlord that'll have had quite a lot of money off me over 30 years. Am I being daft as I start getting the kind of juices flowing? So I've also been looking at other farms across the area as well. So that one is probably a little bit of a stretch. Now there's this one here as well. Now this one is a Fiddler's Green farm and it's based near Brimham Rocks, which is kind of towards Harrogate type of direction. Now it's a little bit stuck out in the middle of nowhere and it has been for sale for a while at a guide price of £1 million. However, look at this. So it's not very big. I say not very big. You get this area here, and I think it runs down onto that field down there. Now this road isn't actually that busy of a road, so you're not going to have too much passing traffic and road noise. And the actual farm building, which is this, so your home, isn't huge. However, little dated, if we look at the outbuildings on this, it was a cafe and like a petting zoo. So that's almost a car showroom already, isn't it? And then you've got this area, which could be prep area, all that sort of stuff. You could put some ramps in, you could get a farm hand on. £1 million quid. So if we go back to our numbers on this, it'd actually be cheaper to buy that farm than it would to rent this place and have my current house. I'd be making 500 or 600 quid a month. Now, I don't know what the rules are with selling cars from a farm. I'm not sure whether or not you can set a business up on a farm. I need to look into all of this sort of stuff. But I do know there's plenty of people doing it. So, for example, some obvious people to think about is Tom Hartley. He's got a setup at home. There's Phillip Island. He's got a lot of bad press at the moment for obvious reasons and understandable reasons. I do know a couple of mates who are sort of going down this route as well. Am I missing something daft? Now, I've looked at some other ones as well, and I think I found the sweet spot, which is this one here. So this one is based in Wetherby, which is really, really close to where I live at the moment. You're sort of 20 minutes to half an hour from where I am at the moment. And also, it's fairly close to other amenities. So I'm thinking about schools for my boy and that sort of stuff. And this is sort of not stuck out in the sticks. So there's not a lot of photos of the actual farmhouse, but there's plenty of photos of sort of the landing area. But this is basically your farmhouse here. It looks like you've got sort of stables or something there, but imagine converting that into more of the farmhouse. You know, something rather special there. And then you've got this building here, Bosch. Now this place at the moment is what appears to be a place for helping people with learning difficulties and disabilities and that sort of stuff. So it looks like it's sort of one of those farms where you can sort of come across and they show you how to do things, and it's like a nice day out. So it's obviously geared for cars coming in and disabled access and all that sort of stuff anyway. It's 1.2. Look at it. I think from what I can see, you get this and then this paddock area here. That. I mean, imagine a car dealership in there. You could halve it, couldn't you? You could have your YouTube stuff in the background and then a car dealership in the foreground there, and then imagine that all glazed so you've got that view. So again, if we put it into the mortgage calculator, spitting distance are the same numbers. Now, I don't know why more people aren't thinking about this. The biggest problem I've got is I looked at my income and how much I can borrow, and I can't borrow £1 million on my income. So I don't know if there's a way of doing this, buying it through a business or whatever, and I'm wondering if there's anyone out there that might be able to help me on this one. How exactly do I borrow £1 million? Is there a way out there that you can fund these things? Does somebody know something that I don't know? Because that, for me, if I can get across the mortgage line on that one, is perfect. Now that property is actually a perfect property to use as well. Am I onto something? So that is kind of plan number one. Do we go down the farm route? How do we get around the income side of things? Can you sell cars from a farm? Do you need to separate it into this is residential and this is commercial? Does somebody know more about this? And if you do, give us a call on it, because I'm genuinely fairly hell-bent on this. Now, that is one option. The other option that I've got, is totally different, is this one. This is a map of Europe. And this is a wonderful little island in the Mediterranean called Malta. Now, being a dad is making me really assess what is right for the family and what is right for me. Now, when I'm looking at the farm side of things, I'm bearing in mind staff and people that might have been in the business for a number of years at that point. And when you're looking at farms and going, right, we're going to change where we're doing it from, you need to be thinking about location. And the one that I saw in Wetherby is a good idea. The one in Harrogate could probably work. They're all sort of within spitting distance. People that are travelling into here could probably travel to there. This is quite a drastic one. And Malta's glorious. I've been to Malta only once. I have lived abroad in the past before as well. And the Maltese people are absolutely lovely people. And when I'm looking at the UK, I'm kind of going, is this a place that is actually somewhere where I'd want to raise my boy? And I love it. I love a lot of people in the UK. It is home. But then you look at other opportunities in places like Malta. I know Callum's gone to Sweden, and you can see why people are starting to move. The education system is better, granted you've got to pay for it. The medical care is better, granted you've got to pay for it. The living situation, the accommodation, the rental properties, the buying properties over there is a lot more expensive, and with rent there can be a lot of difficulties with scams, etc. But it is warm all of the time. It is sunny most of the time. The Maltese people, the few that I met when I was out there, and I appreciate it's part of the tourist areas that I went to, were all lovely people. It is 88% of people in Malta speak English. There are lots of expats out there. All the cars drive on the same side of the road as they drive over here as well. There are plenty of car dealerships out there. Cars seem to be a lot more expensive in Malta, and since Brexit, the whole exporting them across there might not be a good idea, but I'm sure there's other things you could do with Japanese imports, etc. And I'm just wondering if it's time for a total life change. Going somewhere like Malta. Now, there's a couple of ideas that we've had with moving abroad, and as I say, I've moved abroad in the past before. I did Tenerife for 2 years. Granted, I was 21. It didn't really matter. I wasn't really thinking about the sort of serious impacts of moving abroad. The other things you've got to think about when you're going away as well is family. My family is really important to me. My parents in particular, we've got closer and closer over the years, and all of a sudden you move a 4-hour flight away. That's not really fair on them. I've also got brothers and nephews and all that sort of stuff as well, which are also really important to me. So that's kind of the crazy card that I might play. So there's the plan. That's what I've kind of got an idea in my head. What's your thoughts on it? Can the farm work? Is the farm a good idea? Would Malta work? Is Malta a good idea? Can I set up a car dealership abroad? Because I do love the car sales. It's a bit grim here, isn't it, sometimes? And sometimes, you know, fancy a bit of a change. Now, although a lot of people are going to places like Dubai and that sort of stuff, I'm not affluent enough to care about what the tax regimes are. All I want is a nice life for me and my family. That's all I'm bothered about, genuinely. And the idea of a farm in the countryside, just sounds very romantic, and you feel like you're out of the rat race, and it'd be great for little Ralph growing up on a farm with animals and all that sort of stuff. I love that idea, and you can keep everything, all your friends are here, your family's close, all that sort of stuff, and then you've got something like this, which is potentially totally crazy. Ideas on a postcard, please. That's where we're at. We've got 3 years to think of a plan. In the meantime, what I need to do is make this business work as best it possibly can, because I need to start taking some proper income out of this place. And you're going to join me on that journey. But there you go. That is the big picture. That is the big plan. We're all now part of it. Any ideas, more than happy to listen to them. Some I will ignore in a blind panic, and some I'll listen to. So thanks again for joining me. Hope you found that interesting. There we go. Cards on the table. Malta or a farm? You tell me. Cheers.